In this video, we're going to be loading data into the tables in our school library solution. In order to do this, we're going to run the Data Setup Canvas app, and this app is connected to our Dataverse tables. We're going to load the data, and then we're going to review the data that now exists in our tables in our model-driven app. Finally, we're going to add in some book images. So let's move over to our Power Up Hub so that we can start experimenting. I'm in the Power Up Hub. I'm going to navigate to the Dev environment and then select Start Experimenting. This opens up a new tab in my browser, and I'm going to make sure that the burger has expanded here, and then I'm going to select on Solutions. I'm now going to select on the School Library solution. And I'm going to only look at my apps. I'm going to select the three dots next to the Setup app and then select Play. I'm going to cancel the warning associated with the app being in a developer environment. And then I'm going to select Add Data. At this point, the app will start adding data into the tables in our data model. It has to start with authors, because books have authors, and then it moves on to books, onto book copies. It then adds the contacts, which are our students that are able to take out loans. And then finally, it will start creating the loans. It takes about 5 minutes for all of the loans to be added in. And once it says completed adding all loans, then you know you can come out of the app. To do this, all I need to do is expand here and then click the X to close this tab. We can now see the results of what we've been doing. I'm going to move on to my model-driven app, select the three dots and then Play. Now at the point of loading this app, we weren't expecting there to have been any loans taken out. But if we move on to the authors, we can see that we've added a number of authors, and those authors have a number of books associated with them. There are just 7 in total. We can see that we've got a number of students here, 10, and we can also see there are numerous copies of the books that we have in our library. And at this point in time, all of our books are available. We can move on to our Loans tab, and we'll be able to see all of the loans that have ever taken place, 959 in total. The format of the dates of the loans are all in a North American format, so I can select the settings here, then go to Personalization Settings, over to Formats, then select the drop down, and then move on to English United Kingdom, select OK, and the formats will then change. I'm going to revert back to the North American format. Before us we can see all of the loans that this library has ever had. And if we select the drop down, we can see all of the current loans. But there are no loans just yet. So let's go on to the custom page that's living inside our model-driven app, and we will take one loan out for one of our students. I'm going to select Checkout Book. I'm going to select a student. I'm going to select Raj Patel, and then I'm going to tell it the book that I'm interested in. I'm going to do Macbeth, and it's going to be copy 2. I'm going to check that book out. If I now go to the loans and select and look at the current loans, I can see that this loan that we've just taken out is currently showing. I can go back to the loans check in and check out, and I can check that one back in. Go back to the loans and I'll see that that value has not been included. Current loans are now empty. Let's go back to the loans check in and check out app. I'm going to check out the book again. select the student. This time I'm going to use Yuki Sato, and then I'm going to select another book, and I'm going to select the Macbeth copy 3 this time, and check out. We can see the due date of the loan is in December 2024, and I can select the checkbox for the US format, and so I untick that, and it's going to show it in a European format. Another feature of this data model is that the books can have images associated with them. So if I select on the books themselves, and then select on Macbeth, I can see there's no image associated with this book. I can select Choose File, and if I navigate to my Resources folder, I can select Macbeth and then select Open. If I select Save and Close, that file has now been recorded next to the Macbeth book. If I go to the Loans Check-in and Check-out app, we can see that this image has been associated with Macbeth copy 3 because there's a relationship between those two tables. Let's go back to books, and then go on to the Winnie the Pooh, and then go on to Choose File again. This time we're going to select the Winnie the Pooh image, and then select Open. And if I select Save and Close, it becomes associated with that record. And for your homework, I'd invite you to use all the images in your downloads to add the images to your books in Dataverse. So let's look a little further at what we can do with our model-driven app. I can go onto the Macbeth book record. And if I scroll down, I can see that there are 3 copies of that book, and one of them is currently showing as being on loan. I'm going to select Macbeth copy 2. And if I scroll further down, I can see that this book has been taken out 58 times. I can look at the students that have been taking out loans. I can select them, and if there's one student that we're interested in, I could select Maria Garcia, select Related, and then select Loans. And this would tell me all the loans that Maria has ever taken out. I'm going to go back to the books. I can see that we have a web URL on the right hand side. And these URLs will take us away to an online copy of that book. And in the context of a model-driven app, I can select Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and I can select the URL here. And if we were to choose Read Online, we'd be able to read the Huckleberry Finn book. We're also able to go through a similar exercise where we use the Loans Check-in Check-out app. I'm going to select this. I'm going to check out a book, select a student. This time I'm going to select Anna Muller, and then I'm going to select the book copy I'm interested in. Select Winnie the Pooh, and then check out. If I select on the image for Winnie the Pooh, I'll be able to go to the Gutenberg project to have a look at an online copy of the book. I can also read the book online. Let's take a look at that. We've got the whole of the Winnie the Pooh book here. So let's have some fun and read the first few lines. Chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees, and the stories begin. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, 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 on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels that there is really another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom, ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. Well, much as I'd enjoy it, I don't think I'll be able to read the whole of Winnie the Pooh to you, but that's something that you might want to do in your own free time. In this lesson, we use the Data Setup app to introduce data into our Dataverse tables. With one click, we populated all of the data, and then we checked the model-driven app to see that it was working correctly. One thing we couldn't do with the Setup app was to add in book images, but we added those in separately, and we could see that they were working in our Canvas app when we were taking out loans. Hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.